Now I'm going to be taking you back to when I was a child and my adventures. Not really adventures, but my traumas of living inside of a haunted house. Oh. Welcome back to another episode of Shanclen Shadow Productions. Now I have an amazing episode here for you. It's a very spooky one. This is going to take you back to, I'm pretty sure, a lot of you viewers out there who have experienced childhood hauntings, haunted houses, and just bad dreams and just being forced to live in a place like this. So my house that I lived in, like I mentioned before, going back to my childhood, we used to go to a lot of ceremonies when I was younger. We used to experience a lot of spiritual things, and one of those things that I always used to think about is whenever we would go to ceremonies and experience these things that would happen, it would always be beautiful. It would always be good feelings. It would always be good interactions. But sometimes we would go home and our home would be the opposite of that. Now, in the home that I grew up in was in Winslow, Arizona. And this home in particular was, come to find out years later, was built on an old burial ground and was also right next to a church. And this church used to house a lot of bodies, had a morgue inside of it too and everything. And so this was one of those houses that was kind of bestowed upon us from our grandfather because he paid it off, and so we were able to live in there. My father was able to work, and our whole family grew inside of that house and everything. But in this house and everything, I would have to say, gosh, I was very, very young. All the way from elementary school, all the way to, I would have to say, junior high, maybe. So we spent many, many years there inside of this home. And it was definitely, a lot of people would ask me, it's just like, okay, as a child, were you always scared? Yes, it was because of this house that is right here. And so whenever I go on these paranormal investigations and everything, we go interact with these spiritual beings and who I am today, I don't get scared because it's just like at a very young age, I was already used to seeing these spiritual deities and beings of darkness and evil that were around. So some of the things that we would see inside of this home was just being there. And when I kind of grew up, I used to share a room with my brother, but then as we kind of grew older, he got his own room, I got my own room. And some of those times when we would play inside of that house, there was always a feeling of somebody watching you. There was always a feeling of somebody just being there. You know, as a kid, you can kind of sense like, you know, you do something bad, or maybe like your parents are watching you and they're just like, you're kind of doing something mischievous and everything. And then like one of your parents see, or, you know, something like that. But when you feel that and you look and there's no one there, that's when, you know, it's just like, okay, this is kind of weird and everything. So that was one of the lighter sides of the experiences that we used to have at this home. And kind of going back in my memories right now, you know, it's just like, dang, I wish I could go back to that house, but investigate it. But, you know, there were some things that would happen there, like, you know, some of my cousins used to come over and everything, and we would have a sleepover. And like I said, we were young kids, got done playing video games and stuff. We'd go to sleep. And in the middle of the night, inside of the kitchen, we used to have one of those water dispensers that had the 5 big gallon water jugs that were inside of the kitchen. Middle of the night, you know, we would just be getting ready to go to bed, and there used to be a hallway that kind of led down the house into the kitchen, and we heard that 5-gallon water jug fall. And it just went water rushing everywhere. And we woke up, we were just like, what the heck? And so we were kind of freaked out. I thought like my mom fell or my dad was there or something like that was happening. And so we went into the kitchen to go investigate, and the water jug was fine. We're just like, what the heck? You know, what was that? So then we ended up going back to sleep and everything, told our parents the next day, and they were just like, it's really weird and everything. And so, but another time that we had at that house too, I remember I was sleeping inside of my old room, and my bed faced the door of the room. And when you look out the room, It was like a L and went that way down the hallway. And right alongside that wall was mirrors from the bottom to the top. And I remember I was sleeping one night and I wake up to hearing whispers. And like I get up and I look at my bottom of my feet toward the door, and I see somebody with half his body sticking out of the mirrors, and he was like making like hand gestures and speaking and doing stuff like that and talking to me. And I was freaking out. I screamed, and my parents were sleeping on the other side of the house. So when they came running, they turned on the light and he disappeared. And I was just like, what the hell was that? You know, what was just in the mirror? You know, as a little kid, you're trying to figure out like, what the hell did I just see? You know, and I remember one time too, this was one of those things that like you would hear things inside of your house. You would hear like the wood settling, something pop in the house or something like that. And I remember I was in my room and I was getting ready for bed, and I kept the closet light on because I used to always keep some type of light on inside of my room because I'm scared of the dark. Of course, you live in a haunted house, you're scared of the dark. So I kept the light on in the closet. And I remember I was getting up for some reason, and I went in, I was starting to walk toward the closet, and I saw a ball of light just go from the room into the closet, hit the closet door, and disappear into the closet. It looked like a tennis ball was like that. And I heard the closet door actually make that noise, but it sounded like the noises I would hear throughout the house. And I was just like, it was like a ball light just went like that. And I was like, what the heck was that, you know? And I was like, it's not just the house creaking or settling or the wood, the temperatures in the house or anything like that. It's pretty interesting. I was all like that. And I was like, what the hell? So I was just like, all right, some really weird things are happening here. So this is when I would tell my mom. Like at a very young age, you know, that's one thing I love about my mother and my father is they both listened to us whenever we would have these experiences, these weird things that would kind of happen and everything inside of the house. Unlike in the movies, they'll be like, just go to sleep, you know, just brush it off. They're like, no, we're gonna get a medicine man in here, and we're gonna make sure everything gets blessed, you get blessed, and you know, no evil, dark things kind of come about. And that's when we found out. Medicine man told us that we lived on an old burial ground. Had some indigenous bones in there, but also living next to the church, some of the spirits that would pass on would sometimes go to the house as well. And he said, there's a man that's on top of your roof. He looks down at you guys while you sleep and do everything every day. He looks at all of you guys, and he plays tricks on your kids, he says. And me as a little kid, I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? You know, and just scared and everything. So he would do a blessing and a protection prayer and everything. And I would feel good after. The house would feel good. Everything would feel good. But that's always one of the teachings that they give is if somebody passed away in your home, you're supposed to move. And you're not supposed to live on an old burial ground that's like that. Because you can do a ceremony and everything. This is what I've come to find out. You can do ceremonies. They'll last for a good couple weeks, but then things will just kind of pop up again. Things would kind of just show up again. So one day, you know, I was playing hide and go seek with my siblings. And so, you know, my little sister, she went into the laundry room of the house. And so that was like a little bit down the hallway of the home. And so she was inside of there hiding. And so I was kind of like walking by. I was like, all right, game's over. I can't find you. And so I was walking down the hallway. I was on my left side. It's like one of those things you do a quick glance. I heard my sister walk up. She's like, hey. And I was just like, and then I was going to go find my other sister. I did a quick look. I was like, hello. I was like, hey. And then I look and I see her there. She's small. And then I saw somebody else standing behind her. We were the only ones in the house. We used to do that whenever my mom and dad used to go to work or something like that, and it was just us kids home. We used to play Nerf gun wars, hide and go seek, or play video games and stuff like that. Just have fun. And I saw somebody standing behind her, and I freaked out, and like I did like a double take like that, and they weren't there anymore. The second look I did, and it looked like somebody was dressed in black with very like pale skin. It was almost kind of like purple, and he had ears that kind of pointed out like this, and his eyes were just black with blood coming down. And I saw that real quick, and I was like, you know, I did that. And then my little sister was like, what? And I was like, I didn't want to freak her out. And I was like, come on, just come on with me. And then I told my older brother about it. So we started burning some sweetgrass and cedar. And so we just, it's one thing I never told my siblings about it until they were older, because I didn't want to freak them out and everything. And so we did stuff like that. Certain things like that would kind of happen like that. And it was very, very kind of off-putting. And, you know, we would just kind of live with it, though. You know, it's just like we would go get another ceremony done, last good couple weeks, maybe a month or two and everything. And again, it would just show up. I remember one Christmas time, it was a really nice house. Inside of the kitchen, it looked like a 2-story. It was vaulted, and there was some small windows up on the top, kind of an old Adobe style. And I was going to go into my mom and dad's room to ask them a question, and it was raining and storming outside. And I remember I was walking, you kind of have to walk past the kitchen to get to their room, and lightning struck, and there was somebody that was looking down from that window inside of our house. And I freaked out, and I ran to my mom and dad, and they looked up and they didn't see anything or anything like that. So, you know, you would just kind of have situations that would like that happen. And the worst experience that I had at the house came to almost a boiling point at this situation. Was I was sleeping, my brother, in that original room I slept in, there was another room L'd off, and then there was another door you couldn't see directly into it. Inside of that room was my brother's room. He ended up upgrading, going to a different room. I moved in there. My sisters took my old room. So I was in that other room. And I remember one night, it was wintertime, because my mom and dad, they busted out the polar bear sheets. So it was nice and warm and everything. So I was sleeping there. The door was on my left side right here, facing in like that. And my bed was right here. Then I had a desk right there. There was a window. Then my TV that was right here. And I remember I was sleeping, and I just started like living in a house like that. You kind of sense when these things start to come around, and I kind of jolted up, and I heard footsteps running down the hallway. It's the middle of the night, and everyone was sleeping. Heard footsteps run into my room, and this dark, shadowy figure just ran to my desk and started grabbing things and just throwing it at me. And I was just like standing there, sit up on the bed. I was just like screaming, freaking out. I was like, ah, you know, just the top of my lungs, just absolute fear. And immediately that's when my mom and dad started coming, and then he turned on the light and he disappeared. Come to find out from my mother, she told me he didn't disappear. Years later, when I was older, I actually found out about this a couple of years back. She told me he didn't disappear, son. My mom and dad, I think it was just my mom because my dad was working. My mom was coming out of her room, going past the kitchen and getting close to the hallway, and there was a dark figure that ran down the hallway and hid behind the couch. She screamed and yelled at it. She said, "Get the fuck out of my house, get out of here, you know, this is not your home." And she knew it was a spirit too, it wasn't a physical person. And he got up and ran to the front door, opened it, and ran out. And you know, it was just one of those things that, like, with my brother getting his gift at a young age, it wasn't too long after that my brother got his gift, and good things started happening because we took the proper precautions and everything. We ended up moving out of that house and everything. But it's just like that haunting fear of your childhood traumas, of other things happening. There was other stuff that happened too, but I think my mind just blocked those things out, and I just didn't want to remember it. But that's why they always say, like the medicinal people always say, never live in a house where somebody died. Don't live on a burial ground, because you can try to do ceremonies and all these other things, but the dead and the death spirits that are there have a claim to that land and home. That's where they rest. That's where they are and everything. So some of the darker spirits and entities that are there could be able to, you know, I guess have claim over it. So it's just one of those things that, like, sucks, because in our situation, you buy a house, you can't just leave the house because you have lease, mortgage, all these other different things that are going on with it, and all these penalties if you try to leave. So it's one of those things you just got to endure and try to move on. So that's why I always say, you know, if you guys haven't, go check out my How to Protect Yourself video, because all those things will be able to help you protect yourself against these things. Sweetgrass, cedar, and ash will be able to help you out. Sage, you can smudge, but it'll just put the spirit to sleep. And yeah, they'll wake up pissed off and want to kick your ass. I definitely recommend getting ceremonies, getting blessings from whatever faith or religion that you have, having those protections around, and having good energy and good vibes around your home. If you guys are dealing with a paranormal hunt or activity or burial grounds or anything like that. So yeah, some traumas I had from my childhood and everything. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave it in the comments if you guys had any childhood traumas like that too that you wish to share with this class, Shanclen Shuttle Production class and everything. But yeah, if you guys haven't yet, please consider subscribing to this channel here. We got a merch store, we got a membership page as well. So if you guys want to join up to be the Shadow Warriors, Shanclen Shuttle Productions, that'll work too. A lot of new exciting content coming out here very soon for you guys. I'm very excited for everything coming out, and I can't thank you guys enough for enjoying all this new content. I just want to say welcome to all the new subscribers, new followers of Shanclen Shuttle Productions. I hope you guys have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Hug on out. Table just shakes or squeaks. I need a new table. Gee, just thinking about those things, man. I hope I sleep good tonight.